my name is Leighton Jin. I'm the Director of Development for American Documentary and Animation Film Festival, also known as AmDocs. Today we have a very special guest, Rae Ripple, media superstar, master welder, uh, brilliant artist. I can go on and on, but we're really excited that you took the time to talk to us. And
Absolutely.
she's going to have this great documentary. We talked earlier with her director, Michael McCourt. But
hmm
Rae, let's start with the documentary. I know you're out in the media a lot. People know a lot about your story, but why was this the right time to have a documentary on you? And what was that process like for you to go through?
Actually, well, I don't think it's necessarily like something that's just like for or about me. I think that we're just like the world is in a crisis right now, a mental health crisis. I feel like there's a lot of people that are told to sit down and shut up and not speak up and not talk and not express the feelings or just even have the initial acceptance or the okay to even like feel things, and so like and we're all the same. Like I think it all just like boils down to is like we all bleed red, we are all human, we're all, going through the same things. And it's kind of people they see the social media side of my life, like what I put on the internet, and think that my life is just peaches and cream. And if you know like my backstory, it's taken a lot of work and a lot of therapy and a lot of self-healing to like get to this point to where like I am not carrying the responsibility of these things. And I think a lot of people carry responsibility for things that has happened to them and that aren't even their fault. And this is basically me showing the world, like, even though you can see my Instagram or see my social media and you think everything's peaches and cream, but it really does take a lot of work to to pull yourself out of fight or flight and accept that you're in a safe place and allow yourself to feel all the things that you never felt because you pushed them down so deep for so long. So this is I guess, my love letter to my own mental health. I guess my love letter to the world to show that we're all the same. We all feel the same. We all bleed and breathe and, all of these things the same. And so I just want the world to know that you're not alone in what you're going through. And I'm doing it too. Everybody's doing it. Like everybody has these thoughts and very real emotions. And so I just want the world to know that you're not alone.
Beautifully, beautifully said. Thank you for saying that. But it's so when we talk about timing, I know people talk more and more about mental health these days. A lot of it's coming off the pandemic. Have you noticed that there is more of a need for that now? I mean, there's always a need, but it seems to be a little bit more amplified since a lot of things that this whole country has gone through the last few years. And the pandemic is one thing people point to, but there's other things as well.
I think initially, I think the pandemic kind of has brought out a lot of things that, people were holding on to because we were isolated for so long. And so we were kind of forced to feel and identify with things because we had nothing else going on to distract us from like feeling and like being and like all of these things. So I think this is something that should have been addressed. Like it should definitely be addressed way before the pandemic. But I think the pandemic kind of helped a lot of those things come out. But like for me, the pandemic it wasn't necessarily the pandemic that affected me. It was more of like at that point in my life, like my career was flourishing, like everything was just taking off. And like everything that I was trying to like understand, that something else would happen and I couldn't understand it. And like something else and like something else. And so like I just got to this point where like my head was just filled with a lot of stuff and it had nowhere to go and I had nowhere to put it. And so like I just basically like felt I just felt like this urge to just like run, I guess you can say. And I just it just kind of happened to come out around this time. But I think this is a topic that everybody deals with on a daily basis before the pandemic, before all of the things. I think it's just getting to the point where we're tired of sweeping things under the rug and just ignoring. And we really need to get down to the root of the problem here, which is that there's just not enough love in this world. There's not enough hugs in this world. And it's not necessarily being like an oversensitive, like whatever. Like there's just not enough like people that just have your back and that just, you know, want to be there for you when you're quiet. You know what I mean? And so for this to be what it is, I don't necessarily think it's attached to like pandemic type stuff. It's just more or less that we just need more open ears and more love and more support in our country for each other because we are all humans, you know? So yeah, I could ramble on about that for forever.
It's all interesting. It's all interesting. This might be a
Yeah.
little bit of a left turn, but this is something topic that's interested me. But mental health for you when things started going right, you started being successful because I'm a former sports writer and I covered one athlete, and I think he started having more issues when he found his success and he achieved his goal, and, and I think there were some mental I don't know about mental health, but there was issues that he was dealing with, whether it was, you dedicate your whole life to something, it's not what you expect it to be or anything like that. And I always thought that was an interesting topic. And with you, you're kind of talking about like when things were flourishing and, maybe
Well,
certain things.
it's like like it has nowhere to go. So like all these things just kind of creep up to the surface, and like I spit like my most people do drugs or drink alcohol, and my drug of choice has always been to work. You know, I
Mhm.
always have just worked to like forget everything. Like that's all I've ever done. And then when my career started flourishing, and I started not having to overwork myself to pay my electricity bill or put food on the table or how I was going to pay my rent or if we were getting evicted this month. I had my head was wrapped around so many other things that like the trauma and the guilt and the responsibility that I was carrying for other people that have done things to me, that when I didn't have to worry about how the electricity bill was going to get paid or how food was going to get put on the table or if I was going to get evicted or any of those things, when I didn't have to worry about those things anymore, the things that I was suppressing just by trying to make those top priority just kind of started coming up to their surface. And so it was just like a weird, like, teeter totter of things. So it wasn't necessarily that like my life got better because I think art is best created when you're either falling apart or falling in love, and I'm always falling apart. And so like that's kind of like where my art comes from, but like it wasn't necessarily the goodness. It was like when you're safe in the world, when you've spent your whole life not safe in the world, it causes a lot. Your brain forgets, but your body never forgets. Like your brain and like you can block out things all day long, but your body will always remember what happened. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what was happening. Is like it was all just coming out. Like everything was just coming out because I had nowhere else to put it. So it wasn't necessarily like my career was flourishing, everything was great, but for some reason, like up here wasn't great. Like I couldn't let go of a lot of things. I also was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, and like, because you like spend your life so much on hiatus that you just like you don't believe that anything good is going to happen to you. You don't believe that things that are good that are happening to you are for good reasons. Like you're just constantly always waiting for something bad to happen. And so to get out of that mindset, you really have to like pull back the reins. Now, like not trying to give out too much on the film, but like that point in my life where I just decided that like I wanted things to end. It wasn't necessarily, maybe I thought like I was confused and thought it was myself that it needed to end. It was more like I just wanted the pain to stop. I just wanted the thoughts to stop. I just wanted my body back. I just wanted my brain back. I wanted my heart back. And I had spent so long in survival mode and fight or flight that I didn't know how to live life. And so that's all it really was like, I was getting to a point where I could live life and I didn't even know how to live it because I was stuck way, 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 way over here. You know what I mean? If that makes
Mhm.
sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I see that happen
Yeah.
with a lot of athletes and stuff like that because, they go from nothing to having everything. And when they have everything,
Yeah.
you always hear about these athletes, they talk it simply that, they'll get rich and they'll go bankrupt, but it's sometimes they go bankrupt just coping with how much their life has changed. And, that change could be, even though the change is success, it still can be traumatic. And like you said, what happened with you, it brought up some
Yeah,
issues.
lots of therapy. Oh my gosh, lots of therapy. I'm in therapy twice a week. I'm in trauma therapy and regular therapy. I do not 100% do not believe in any way, shape, or form that anybody that starts any sort of therapy, even if it's like something you can't even like, even if it's not a real therapist, just talking to somebody, just like creating a space where you can like accept your own self and your emotions and what you're feeling. I think everybody needs to have that in their life, and that really has changed a lot of things and helped with those feelings and the emotions and coping and learning how to move and navigate the world as a broken person. You know what I mean? Because I think that like we think that we're just constantly always searching for things to fix us. Like mine was work and art and kids and like painting and, cutting up cars and doing all these things. We're always looking for the next thing to fix us when really it's okay if we're broken. Like it's okay to be a little bit broken. It's okay to feel the way you feel. It's okay to like spend the day in bed and you're just like, today's the day. I just don't want to get out of bed. Give yourself permission to have that day. But like therapy, huge, huge. I cannot express that enough, like how much therapy really has changed my life.
Just another side question, but therapy, how long did it take you to find the right therapist? Because obviously some people, sometimes they go through therapy, they don't find the right person. How about for you? Was that a long process where you got lucky and found someone great, or
Um,
two people great?
it's not been a long process because I think it just like some people just don't care. Like you can have like an amazing job thinking that this is what you want to do for, the rest of your life, but like they just have no heart in it. And you can kind of pick and choose, like you can kind of feel when somebody's just doing something because it's their job, not because they have heart or because they genuinely care about helping other people. So I did have to go through quite a few actually, because there's a lot of people too that don't really understand like that I identify with what I'm feeling, but like I want to learn how to navigate through that, and versus you just giving me homework and telling me what to do, or like, oh, you're just feeling this. Like I need to do the work. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's got to be a reason or an answer for something. Like I always have to have an answer for it, which is terrible because I feel like everything has to have a reason, otherwise it's done in vain in a sense. And so like therapy was kind of like I kind of thought out therapy like that, and I shouldn't have thought it out like that, but like it took a little while to find somebody that was like on the same page, that was like, okay, I really identify with what you're saying and I'm here to help and we're going to get through this together. I think it's initially like finding somebody that wants to stay put and work through it with you and listen to you babble and cry and make no sense. It's just all of those things. It takes time. It takes time, just like friends and and a relationship. Like relationships take time to build, and it's kind of the same thing with your therapist. So like when you're seeking out something like that, like it takes time to build that relationship together, to trust enough too to even like open yourself up, because it's not like one of those things where you start therapy and like the first day in, you're just like lay it all out on the table for them, like this is my life and this is why I messed up. So help me put all these pieces back together and fix it. It starts with very, very small, basic stuff. And then eventually, when the trigger happens, you can bring that into therapy. When something happens, you bring that into therapy. When those thoughts happen, you bring that into therapy. So it takes time. And I think a lot of people expect a real quick fix, but like, I'm not trying to fix myself. I'm just trying to learn how to navigate around everything that ever happened to me, if that makes sense.
It's like creating a process for yourself, right?
Yeah,
And it's
it's like
always
I'm
ever
building
changing.
art.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm building a sculpture. I'm building myself. You know what I mean? Like
right.
I'm just sculpture I don't know how to build, and I'm just trying to learn how to build it.
How therapeutic was it to do this documentary? I know talking to Michael, he thought it was I'm probably putting words in his mouth, and I hope I'm not inaccurate, but it felt like for him, it was a little bit of a process for him to kind of work on this and and with this as a process, how helpful was it for you? Did it
Oh,
help?
well, well, let's just talk about the things that happened. Honestly, I think initially when we started filming, I think I had an idea of like kind of how it was going to transcribe or transpire, like what exactly I thought it would like how it would lay out, and it did not lay out anything like I thought it was going to lay out. And also too, like there's a lot of things that like there was a lot of magic that happened, and it's not necessarily magic like always necessarily in like a good way, but there were things that happened when we filmed that 10 years ago that I've been searching for answers for 10 years. You know what I mean? You know, for 15 years. I've been searching for these answers, you know, because like I have to have an answer for everything. Otherwise, for me, it's done in vain. And so, like, for years, I've been searching for answers for these, you know, moments of my life, these pivotal moments in my life. And it was like when they were here, things just happen and like it clicks. Like all these things that like I thought I had to have answers for, I already had the answers for them. I just needed something inside to bring it out. And there was something so powerful about what he did and how safe I felt and how like not just enough. Like I think I've just spent a lot of my life not really feeling like kind of feeling invisible and not enough and like not good and not anything, never going to amount to anything, or never really just feeling safe or never really feeling any of those things. And so, like, when he came in and it was just such a great space and it gave me all those answers, I actually like restarted therapy again. Like, I've been in therapy like for quite some time, but after the film, I realized that there's a lot of things that like I just hadn't talked about or hadn't moved on from. And so the things in the film are a lot of it I never ever talked about to anybody. And I speak at schools all over the country. I travel and like tell kids my story and try to get kids in the trades and like push all of that like art and like, you know, the kids are my meat and potatoes, but there's always that one time where a kid will ask a question that had never been asked before, and it starts something. It starts this chain reaction of a trigger that I didn't know I had, and sends me into like basically like a depressed episode. And it's really hard to pull myself out of that. So after the film, it was kind of like that. Like I kind of just needed a moment to process a lot of things because I hadn't talked about any of that. And so like I actually spent a lot of time in bed after
Oh,
they left because I just like was really like I think I spent a lot of time like not in a pity me type thing, but you kind of sometimes just wish that things were different and they're just not. And I think the film really helped me learn to accept that it's okay to have a different story. It's okay to have a different life. It's okay to not to be completely different than anything else that the universe and the world thinks that we're supposed to have or be, or any of those. That like I'm just that everything is just okay and that it's gonna be okay, and that me just speaking up, if it only helps just like one person, then I'm doing what I was supposed to be put here for, besides just creating art. Like it's kind of hard to explain. But
with the process to get to the places that you got to in this film, a lot of it has to do with trust and trust with the filmmaker. Can you talk about this relationship you had with Michael and how it evolved through the process? Well, let's also start with what was it about him at the start that made you that allowed you to open up to bring him in to do this documentary?
well,
Um,
first off, if you haven't met him, he is literally an angel on earth. You know what I mean? Like he literally is like was sitting here from the heavens. I'm fully convinced that because like he's so personable. Like there's just an energy that radiates from him, like just a wholesome goodness in the world, and he is just wholesome goodness in the world. And like so, like from the set, we met on a commercial. Like we saw a commercial for Northern Tool, and we became best friends. Like literally, like he's just that type of person. He's just so charismatic with like people, and he just like is such a great safe spot. He's like a giant teddy bear that you could just like cuddle up in, and like everything's just gonna be okay, you know, like that's how he is. And so like it wasn't even hard like to find a space to be safe to talk about these things. Like it was just something that was so so natural. And like I was saying, like it's just all of it was so magical. Like I don't know how to explain it without giving you like too much information on the film on this. Like I can't wait till it comes out so I can like really, really talk about some of the magical things that happened. But after we get off this, I'll tell you one of them and you'll be like, oh, okay, I see it. But like yeah, I thought a lot of things too, with like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to, I don't know if that's okay to talk about, or I don't know. I did a lot of those, and he was like, you know, like, if you don't want to, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. He was very like comforting and safe, and creating a space for me to be 100% human and make it okay, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like a great process, and just he exhibits a lot of great filmmaking skills and journalistic skills in terms of creating trust in a place where it makes you feel comfortable to speak.
Yeah.
Let's focus on some less serious stuff. I hope you don't mind.
Okay. Okay, let's go for
Uh,
it.
Metal Shop Masters on Netflix. Can you talk about that experience being on Netflix, and then also talk about your host Jo Koy? I know there's a great comedian. Had a few bumps at the start of the year at the Golden Globes, which I thought was a little unfair. But can you talk about the whole
I
process
agree.
of
I
that?
agree.
But can you
Well,
talk?
yeah, well, so Metal Shop Masters, like, it's kind of funny how that show, like, transpired because, you know, I was talking about, like, COVID happened. And, like, when I was, like, I had just left Chase in the fire department to pursue art full time right before COVID happened. And then COVID happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back to the fire department. But like something transitioned and like in my career to where I just shifted, you know, it's all about adaptability, you know, in a sense. And so I just shifted my art into what people needed at the time to kind of help compensate, which of course is what we have to do as business owners. But then I just started getting these emails in 2020 talking about this show. It's going to be on Netflix, and, you know, they're interested in me, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, this is the scammiest email I've ever seen. So I never responded to the emails. Like I just kept getting them. And then finally, like I think it was like the seventh one. I don't know. It was like I just answered it and was like, okay, sure, I'll be a part of this show. Wink, wink, you know, that kind of thing. And then they wrote back, and I was like, oh my god, this is real. This is so real. And then of course COVID happened. So I actually was talking to them in January or February or something of 2020. And then COVID happened, and then it put everything on hold, like production on hold. And then all of a sudden, like one day in like August, they were like, hey, we're going to do the show. You got like a week to build this and do this. And then we're going to fly you out for like a month in LA. So basically get your ass in gear. And so that's kind of like what I did. And then when I went, like, I had no expectations of going any further than like the first episode. Like I did not feel like, but this is like that, you know, where I talk about like I deal with imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So I constantly feel like like I'm never gonna be good enough, and like my art's trash, and like all this stuff is just terrible, and blah 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 blah. And so like going into the show, I'm definitely was not as healed or healthy as a person as I am now whenever I went into the show. And so like I was just happy to be a part of it. Like I was just happy to be on the first episode. And then as every episode transpired, like I'd call my kids at home and like, all right, today's the day. This is the day I'm going home. And they're like, no, you're not. You're going to stay. And so I'd like just constantly make it to the next episode. And then like when I got to the end and I like the episode that I went home on, honestly, I'm totally cool with how it happened just because I created something I never probably will be able to create again, you know? And like I created a lot of art on there that like we did like a year's worth of art basically in 1 month on this show. And I don't know, it just really taught me a lot about myself and who I am as an artist, but also that I was very comfortable in my skill set whenever I went, and quickly learned that I'm capable of so much more, which has really helped move my artwork into what it is now, you know. But of course, I met Jo Koy, and he is totally a hoot. I don't care what anybody says about his Golden Globes performance. He got 10 days to come up with it. Give the man a break. Give him a break. And on top of that, like if you ever just sit down and talk to him, he's the most like humble, beautiful human like in the world. Like he's like, it's not like one of those like snooty booties, like, you know, like because he's this big comedian and all of the things. Like he like, but he also played jokes on me a lot, which they don't show in the show, which I wish they did, because every single episode, I don't know if anybody's watched the show, but if you did watch the show, the very first episode, I had to take everything apart and re-weld it back together, which was devastating. But then it became like a running joke after that. And so like every single episode, Joe would come up to me and like, Rae, you can't do that. You're disqualified. You're like, da 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 da. And he would give me like, send me in this whole panic attack every single episode, trying to like, you know, do whatever because he thinks he's funny. But as we all know, he's not that funny. No, I'm just kidding. he's
Ouch.
he's great. I love him to death. An amazing human, and he's been like such a kind of a, you know, a great mentor into my career and like after the show, which has been great. So yeah,
Well,
I'm not judging on the Golden Globes. If you ever go see a show of his, like he's funny. He's really really funny. So
he's actually be playing in our area, I think in April at one of the casinos. I saw that the other day when I was at the casino. So he'll be here. So I'm sure he'll
you should go
appreciate the
see
shout
him.
out. Help sell tickets.
Yeah, you should go see, if you ever get a chance to go see his show, like he is a great entertainer, like really, really great entertainer. And like he spends time too, like after his shows. My favorite thing about him is because I've been to a couple of his shows, I promised him that I would go if he ever came to Texas. And so I did go to a show of his in Texas, and then I did go see him in Vegas too, because I believe he lives in Vegas. And so every show, I know him. So like I'm not just gonna like run up to the stage and just be like, it's me, blah 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 blah, right? So I just like to sit back and just like watch people interact like with other people. I love to people watch. So just sitting back, kind of just watching him interact with people. And he gave every single person the time of day. Like if you were up there and you were giving him the time of day, like he stopped what he was doing to like really just talk to you, and he listens to what they're saying, like, you know, those kind. And I noticed too, like some regulars, he recognizes them that like go to a lot of his shows, you know. So like he's a great human. Cut him some slack on the Golden Globes. He's good. He's not attracted to a plastic doll, don't worry.
Well, Rae, this has been fabulous. You are such a delight to talk to, and it was just really educational for me. I really appreciate taking the time and
Of
speaking about
course.
this movie. It sounds really fascinating. Next time we'll have to talk about your children's book, because I was going to say, you know, we have animators here too. Maybe you could turn that into a animated movie or something like that. You never
I
know.
think I think it would be really cool. I do. I have my second book is coming out this year too, and I think it'll. A lot of people will really appreciate it as far as like because of the film and like the mental health aspect, and like, you know, what we're all dealing with on a daily basis. So that my book, that the second one isn't a children's book, but this one's actually a book called The Intrusive Thoughts of an Influencer. And it's actually like like my diary. I'm basically
Oh,
going to release like my diary in a poetry memoir to the world so they can see, like, when they see the film, you can actually go and read my diary entries from that point of my life, like, and how I felt and like what was really transpiring and taking place. And so the very realness of like what it takes to get to this point of being a healed heart, you know what I mean? And still
mhm.
being broken, but being healed in a sense, you know? So I'm really excited about that one. So that one will come out soon.
That sounds awesome. Well, that's very gutsy of you to do. I don't think I could do that, but I know it's going to probably help a lot of people and be really enlightening. So, Ray, again, thank you so much. We're looking
Of
forward to seeing
course.
you here in Palm Springs. Hopefully, you'll
I
love it out here like we
know.
do.
I'm excited. You're gonna be there, right? So I get to
I'll
see
be there.
you.
I'll be there. I'm looking forward to meet you in person.
I'm so
Um,
excited.
for everyone, as a reminder, March 21st to 25th at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. Sean Penn is our opening night guest. Get your tickets soon, and I'm sure tickets for Ray's documentary Ripple will be going quickly too. So don't sit back, move quickly, and get your tickets. Again,
That's
Ray, thank you
right.
so much. You're
Of
awesome.
course, of
Really
course.
appreciate it.
Thank you guys. See y'all soon.